Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct on the 7th day of the week, on the Sabbath day, on a Saturday. That's right. And today we've got a story for you. On a personal note, I grew up, my story actually straddles two different eras that are just as significant as the new era we're coming into, the post-CV era. Like we had the post-911 era, and we had the post-Cuban airplane, the hijacking era. Yeah, now we're moving into the post-CV era. Now, we haven't quite got there yet. We're still in the middle of it, so it's hard to see the forest for the trees. But I can see the forest for the trees. I know what's going to come. I have an idea of how things are going to go in the new day, because we're experiencing the first minute of a new day. I talked about that the other day. So these two eras that I straddled are the era of segregation and the era of integration. Now, most people think of the era of integration as being the shiznit or the main event, the cat's meow, hot stuff, because now we could do things that we could not do before. But I always harken back to my youth, because in my youth, I also remember reading a book by an African author. Actually, he was the first African author to have a fiction novel published. And he was from Nigeria. His name is Amos Tutuola. Just like the name of the brother that played, what's his name? Ice-T, that played that role on, what's the name of that show? Law and Order. He was on that show, Law and Order. I guess, I don't know if it's still running or not. But Ice-T was on there, and his name was Officer Tutuola. So Ice-T knew who he was talking about. He read some Amos Tutuola. You need to refer back, because Ice-T was trying to pass you a message there, but it was in the secret code. You know, sometimes we got a code switch. So switch up your code, and because Ice-T was dropping a load just with his name that appeared in all the credits. He kept saying it appears over and over and over again. Every time those credits roll, Ice-T, Tutuola. So Amos Tutuola, his most famous book, one of his most famous books is The Palm Wine Drinker. But the one they don't talk about that much that I really liked was My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. Oh, that was a heavy book. That was a heavy book. Easy to read, because he only had about an 8th grade education, so he didn't use a lot of big words, but he did use some descriptions of things from another perspective, from an African perspective, that I was unfamiliar with. But the other thing he did, he described some ideas. And one of them is bridge of loss and gain. It's kind of like what I talked about the other day, about there's two sides to every coin. You have the obverse and the reverse. And the obverse is the side of the coin that's obvious. That's the head. But most people forget about the tail. The tail is just as important as the head. You know, so in this case, segregation and integration, heads, tails. Which one is which? Which one is the obverse and which one is the reverse? What did we gain and what did we lose in both situations? So a lot of times we like to focus on the integration part, and we forget all about the segregated part. We forget about the reverse side of the segregation coin. We only think about the fact we couldn't go to the same bathrooms, drinking fountains, and stuff like that. We don't even think about what we lost. And that's what we're going to talk about today. One of the things we lost were the quote unquote, the so-called Negro Leagues. Okay. And this book right here is another book by Kadir Nelson. You see his name down there at the bottom of the page. I believe he wrote the story, but he definitely, if he didn't write the story, he definitely did all the illustrations because they're done in a Kadir Nelson style. When you see it, you know you're going that extra mile because you're styling with Kadir. And we got him right here. And so he talks about we are the ship. Okay. All else to sea. That was a quote from Rube Foster, the founder of the Negro National League. So when we talk about these Negro Leagues, baseball back in the day of segregation, was a whole different kind of animal. It was a whole different kind of animal because you could do things in the Negro Leagues they won't allow you to do in the integrated leagues because they considered it to be unfair competition, more than they could handle. So therefore, they outlawed some of the things that we used to do in the Negro Leagues, particularly in terms of the pitchers and what kind of pitchers they could use. Because the world's greatest pitcher, still today, has got to be Mr. Satchel Paige. And here's Kadir Nelson's rendition of Brother Satchel Paige. I'm going to go ahead and tear that off right there. And Satchel Paige, he did make it to the big leagues, quote unquote, the Major League Baseball. And he played for the Cleveland Indians, but he also played for a number of teams in the Negro Leagues. And here he is in a picture here drawn by Kadir Nelson. Beautifully illustrated book. I mean, this book has some illustrations in it that'll make your eyes pop out. So if you don't get it for anything else, get it for the artwork. Okay, beautiful artwork. Sure to inspire some young artists coming up. So Satchel Paige was not only one of the world's best pitchers, he was also the oldest rookie ever in the major leagues. We don't know exactly how old the brother was. They used to, that was a big question, was how old is he? You know, they used to ask Satchel Paige, how old is he? Like people ask the current president, when is he going to show his tax returns? And he'd be like, well, you know, and him and he haw. They even went back and asked his mama. Even his mama couldn't say exactly when Satchel was born. Now that's saying something. Even mama didn't know. But the reason I brought this whole story up is because right now, today on a Saturday, there's no baseball. No baseball. Baseball season should have started already. Probably this weekend, maybe last weekend, but it should have started right about now because it's a springtime game. It starts in the spring, it ends in the fall. You know, what do they call it? The October surprise. But this year, there's no baseball. We don't hear the crack of that bat in those baseball stadiums. Instead, baseball stadiums, football stadiums, every stadium we can find is being turned into a field hospital to deal with this virus. Okay, so I just wanted to harken back to the day when Black people, when we had our own teams, and they didn't just play during the spring and the summer, they played all year round. So when they were done with one season, they went on to the next season. So they had an alternate season that was played all throughout Latin America, down in Cuba, go down to Mexico, maybe Venezuela, all down in through there to, those Caribbean islands. So Black people in the main promoted baseball beyond the shores of the United States of America. In the U.S., people in general considered baseball to be an all-American sport. Like they had the sport and they were going to keep it all to themselves and they were going to let nobody else play the sport because it's an all-American sport. It was Black people that took that sport and said, hey, we got something we can share with the whole world. Plus, it doubled their income. It meant that they didn't have an off season and an on season when they weren't working. They weren't getting paid a lot of money. They were getting paid good money, but they could make better money if they kept right on playing. Plus, they developed a whole nother set of players that they could compete with, which improved their own playing. Competition breeds a competitive spirit, but it also breeds better players. So I've got some other pictures in there. I want to show you one because this is a wonderful book. Now here's a picture. And the thing you have to think about is that when you think about the Negro Leagues and black baseball, you have to keep in mind that it wasn't just the players on the field that were affected when integration occurred and the season of the Negro Leagues was finally over. It affected the managers, the owners, the all the support people, as well as the fan base, because it still wasn't easy to get up in those other stadiums. You know, that we all had to go to another section and all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, at least during segregation. Well, during segregation, yeah. Well, I can't recall exactly how that transpired in terms of the transition, but things still weren't quite right. Okay, and so here you see a picture. I believe this is a depiction right here of Rube Foster, who was one of the main proponents of the Negro Leagues. He was the owner of one of the leagues. I think there were, if I'm not mistaken, there were two different Negro Leagues. There was more than one Negro League. So it wasn't just a Negro League, there were the Negro Leagues. Okay, if I'm not mistaken. Check me on that. If I'm wrong, let me know, because I could be lying. I know I'm not flying because crows don't grow this big. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Now here's a picture from an all-star game. And you see all kinds of teams represented, so you can get an idea of how many teams were made up, this Negro League was made up of. Now, the other thing is that this was a very democratic, okay, conflagration, because not only were men allowed to play in the Negro Leagues, there were even some women. There were some great women ball players. That's right. One of them was quite famous. I think she was like a shortstop. I don't think she was a catcher, but she was very famous as a baseball player. And then one of the most famous women of all is Effa Manley, because she owned one of the Negro League teams. So we actually had a woman owner of a Negro League team way back in the day, before what do they call it? Before the women's rights movement had really taken hold and equal rights were really forthcoming for women. We were already doing these things. Same thing with baseball, maybe even with football too, but definitely baseball and basketball. That's what I was thinking, baseball and basketball. Okay, because we started teaching black women how to play basketball many moons ago. It was the men that taught the women. The women didn't just pick the game up on their own. We actually went out and promoted black women playing some of these sports. So here you have a ticket from the first Colored World Series. I'm not going to read, we're not going to read this whole book. I'm not going to be able to show you all the pictures from the book, but I am going to show you a few. And this one here is real special because the first part you see, the first thing you see are the 2 pages here with the picture of the first Colored Negro World Series ticket. And then when you take this picture here, take that page there, and then you open it up, it becomes a panoramic view from October 11th, 1924, Kansas City, Missouri. And here you have, who is it? The Kansas City Monarchs playing the, I don't know the last name of the this team, but they're the Hillsdale team. I just don't know the last name of the Hillsdale team. I'm not familiar with that team. Okay. Typically, it was the Homestead Grays and the Kansas City Monarchs. They've ruled the Negro Leagues for years and years and years. And I got to put this page way up here where I can't even see if you can see it there. You can kind of see it there. So the page starts over here, and then it goes all the way across. So you get a double page fold out there. It's huge. I would love to see the original painting that he did, that this came from, that image came from, because that is a fantastic drawing with the team owners and everything there. Okay. So at any rate, the whole idea here is that bridge of loss and gain. Yes, we gain some things with integration, but at the very same time, we lost some things. So it's a bridge of loss and it's a bridge of gain. And whether you think we gained more than we lost or we lost more than we gained, that is a matter of perspective. It could be debated for quite some time. Personally, I know that we lost a lot. Okay, I know we lost a lot. Even down to the like I said, I talked about the support people, even down to the accommodations, because we had to use that green book when we were going across country trying to find places to stay, because we just couldn't go and stay at the Hilton or the Marriott or the Best Western or the Holiday Inn. Even if you did have a friend, you still couldn't stay at the Holiday Inn, not if you were black. Those places were not friendly at all. So think about it. Give me some response. I see some people waving over here. Jeff Perry and Dante Bailey. How y'all doing out there? I see you. Boom. Waved at you. Okay. So we'll be back at you tomorrow, Monday morning, with a piece on work and the work ethic and how should we look at our work, because basically, work is life, life is work. We all need to have something to do. Otherwise, why are we here? Even the ants have something to do. They always got something. They stay on their job. But I don't think any of them hate their job. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay? Should we love our jobs or should we hate our jobs? Maybe this is the same thing that we've been talking about, this whole idea, the obverse and the reverse, the two sides of the coin, bridge of loss and gain. All right, so you got a few things to think about. We're still going to come back tomorrow. We got one more day. We'll come back tomorrow with a special note, and then we'll go move on into the next week. In the meanwhile, have a good day. Sorry that there's no games for you to watch today. I guess you're going to have to play your own game. Maybe that's what I'll feature tomorrow. I got a football game over here at the house that you can play. Of course, you could always play Madden. You could do your online stuff, but maybe you can do something with the family where everybody can participate and actually interact with everybody. Hey, there's an idea. Yeah, maybe we should try that. All right, now, peace out without a doubt.